Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Hey team, welcome back to the Well Coached podcast, where we focus on 4 pillars of people, sales, profit, and self. When we get those 4 in harmony or in balance, your business can become corporate enough with enough structure in place to scale, but just corporate enough to still allow you the fun, flexibility, and the reason why you started the whole thing in the first place. Today, we are going to talk about adapting leadership styles, specifically when to coach folks, when to mentor, and when to be directive with your team. We subscribe to Ken Blanchard's SLII model, knowing that one size does not fit all, and effective leaders adjust their approach based on the situation and on the individual. We'll dive into that. Leaders should use a combination of coaching style, mentoring style, and directing style, depending on the team member's competency and commitment levels. We are subscribers to Ken Blanchard's SLII model, also known as situational leadership, and here is the nutshell of that. The styles are directing. In Blanchard's world, we call that D1. And by the way, if you want to dive a little bit deeper into this, go get a very easy read book. It's called Leadership and the 1 Minute Manager. It's by Ken Blanchard. Very easy to find. It'll lay all this out in very simple, easy to understand terms. I'm also happy to work with you on it as well. Understanding the 3 leadership styles. Directing, right? These are folks, when you're in this leadership style, that is high control and low autonomy. Pretty close to, I say you do, no questions asked, right? What would be an example of that when that's appropriate? A new employee, first day on the job, or maybe an urgent situation. Building's on fire, get out, right? Those are highly directed behaviors. When you know that the person is new to a goal or to the task, directed behaviors, right? Here's how you do it. We turn the lights on at 9. We make the coffee at 9:15, whatever. Very specific direction, okay? Another example would be military leadership in crisis moments. They get highly directive, telling the troops what to do and when. Without that type leadership in stressful situations, people can die, businesses can fall apart. Now, back to our good old DISC profile. We all have natural leadership styles. Under Ken Blanchard's model, there are 4 to learn. And the beauty about this is that they are skill sets to be learned. This isn't about being a natural born leader. This is about learning how to be an adaptive leader based on situations. All of us have a natural leadership style. About 68% of us lead with one style. If it relates back to DISC profile, most of us high Ds, most of us high Cs, we kind of lean into directing, right? High control, low autonomy, that little bit of that micromanagement type mentality. And at times, that's clearly appropriate.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. As an entrepreneur, you're always juggling a million things, scaling your business, managing a team, staying ahead of the competition. But what about managing you? Running a business can be stressful, and the burnout is real. That's where therapy can help. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist to help work with you and for you. Therapy isn't just for crisis moments. It's about building resilience, setting boundaries, and developing the mental clarity to lead with confidence. With BetterHelp, you can do it all online and on your schedule. And users can save up to 50% on average compared to traditional in-person therapy, making it both accessible and affordable. With over 30,000 therapists and 5 million people served, it's the world's largest online therapy platform. A better business starts with a better you. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/wellcoached. That's betterhelp.com/wellcoached.
Another coaching style in the SL2 model, or leadership style, is coaching. And that's the balance of guidance and autonomy. This is always best for mid-level employees who need support, but they also need some independence. The best example of this, and this is why it's called coaching, are coaches of whatever sport. They're constantly trying to help the athlete develop a new skill and then pulling back and letting them do that, right? I'm a huge North Carolina fan, so Michael Jordan's my go-to example of this. When he got to North Carolina, he was a raw talent, but he did not understand the game, and they coached him very hard, right? They coached him very hard on here's what you do when, and then started giving him some freedom to go execute the lessons, and that worked out pretty good, right? Coaches are adaptive in the way that they are still highly directive. Here's what we do, but here's why we do it is the support part, and here's the outcome to expect if we do these behaviors. And then the last one's mentoring, right? The mentoring is when you've got a team member who doesn't need you very much, right? So it's a low control mechanism, but a high degree of trust has been earned. This is best for folks that have demonstrated competence to you. Back to the Michael Jordan deal. By the time he got to the Chicago Bulls and started winning championships back to back, he did not need a high control coach. He needed a low control coach because he had demonstrated competence and earned the trust of his team members and of his leadership. This mentoring style is best for senior employees who are ready for ownership of something. If you want great examples and want to go read about that or have a mentor in a book, Richard Branson. He mentors his Virgin Group leaders amazingly, and look at the dynasty that he has been able to create. And still, the guy looks super happy every time you see him, right? Because he has led his people appropriately. He's got the right people in the right seats. He lets them do their thing. Imagine, conversely, and this happens in businesses, if you've got an eagle and that eagle knows how to fly. She gets her work done. She's proactive. She's strategic. But all of a sudden, the boss becomes highly directive. You think that's going to work out very long? That's a mismatch in leadership, right? So as you identify people's commitment level and their competence level through either a transferable skill set or just demonstrated competence by learning, you change your leadership style to match what that team member needs from you. Choosing the right approach means you do not ever lock into one style. That gets kind of back to that EQ thing where you may hear folks say, well, that's just who I am, or that's just my style. Not good. All right. If you're a highly autocratic, dictatorial type, I say you do leader, that directing style, that works great when the competence level is low, or if something urgent has to happen quickly and the person that you're working with doesn't have the skill set to figure it out on their own. That does not work well when you've got a very high achiever who's done the assignment or the behavior multiple times successfully. To micromanage that person just means you're going to manage them right out of the building because they're going to go fly somewhere else. How does this tie to people, sales, and profit, right? Right leadership styles always equal growth. It always does, right? We all sell commodities. We talk about that a lot. Whatever you're selling, there's highly likely somebody's selling the same thing. What moves the needle? It's the folks inside that company being led the right way, to have imagination, to have freedom to go grow the business. Adaptive leadership leads to more engaged teams and better customer service. One size does not fit all. The onus is on the leader to learn how to be an adaptive leader. We can always talk about that together. If we don't have the pleasure of doing that, go get the book, Leadership and the 1 Minute Manager. In conclusion, the best leaders are flexible. The reason we like Ken Blanchard's SL2 model so much is because it's beautifully simple to understand. You're not going to get lost in a 1,000-page book, but it's going to walk us through when to be directive, when to use a coaching mentality, and when to just be a mentor. Understanding those ways of leadership will maximize individual team performance and therefore maximize all of team potential. That is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please like it, share it, subscribe to us on all your favorite platforms, and tell all your friends. Until we see you next time, go out there and kick it. See ya. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.